Hey there, it's Coach Bradley T. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something which I get asked about a lot and I want to just go over, which is the truth about showcase tournaments and camps and these types of events. One of the reasons why I want to talk about it is because they're not what you think they are. Let's get into it. So, why this presentation? So, in the college softball recruiting world, there's a lot of bad information out there, and it's only getting worse. In the past 5 to 10 years, the world of college softball recruiting has absolutely exploded, and there's a lot of people that are saying a lot of different things, and a lot of things contradict each other. And I'm just here to hope to clarify a couple of things about these college showcase slash exposure types of events. There are thousands of showcases and exposure events every single year, and it's hard to sift through it all. They are not what you think they are. I'm going to get into what you likely think they are and what they actually are. And then I'm going to get into some of the 5 ugly truths about what happens behind the scenes with these things. And mostly why I'm doing this presentation is because I want to help parents and players make more informed decisions. The college softball recruiting process is very difficult at the best of times, and it's gotten extremely difficult with all of these showcases, the showcase exposure types of camps and events, and it's very difficult. And I'm just here to help players and parents make more informed decisions. You have limited time, money, and energy, and I genuinely want you to spend it wisely. So, who am I? My name is Bradley Thomas. I've been coaching competitive fast pitch softball for 12 plus years now. I have 5 plus years as a softball collegiate coach, where I coach at the University of British Columbia in the NAIA. I'm also the managing director for True North Softball, a position that I've held since 2018. I've trained multiple players who have gone on to play college softball, Division One, Division Two, NAIA, and junior college players. I'm also the head coach for the True North Trailblazers College Prep program. Note, we are not a showcase or an exposure program. I have a slide towards the end here where I talk about what those programs are. And notably, I have 15 years of collegiate administrative experience. I have worked at multiple schools, some in the NAIA, NCAA Division II, as well as U Sports, so I have a very intimate knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes within a college athletics department. And I have worked with coaches of all kinds, especially softball coaches, to help them to better understand how to navigate the athletics administrative world and how that all works from a university athletics department as well as a softball coach department. So I bring a very unique lens to this conversation. I'm also extremely passionate about doing everything that I can to help players prepare to not just play college softball, but to excel at college softball. That is the mantra for our True North Trailblazers program: is we don't want you just to play college softball one day. We want you to be able to excel once you get there. So now let's get into what these softball showcases and events actually are. So what most people think they are, or rather how it is marketed, is that you're going to have stands packed with hundreds of college coaches. Every college coach from the region is there, and even some from across the nation. There's college coaches running around from field to field looking for players to offer scholarships to, and to get a scholarship offer, players have to play well or have great stats, make a great play while they're there, or if it's a tournament, their team has to win the tournament. That is the overarching perception of it, and that is what is marketed, and that is what is the image that is being told to most parents. The reality is, very few college coaches actually go to these types of events anymore. The college recruiting landscape has changed so much in the past 5 or so years that they don't really go to these events anymore, and I'll get into a little bit why later on. Most, if not all, coaches that are actually there are just watching players that they already have, that they are already recruiting or have a relationship with. Very, very few players actually make new coach contacts at these events. And there are hundreds of players at these events. The odds of you actually getting noticed are basically zero. Tens of thousands of players every year go to these events, and they come back with absolutely nothing. I just want you to understand that there's so many players that go to these types of events because they've bought into that view of what they're marketed or what they think that they are. But this is the reality: is that most of the players, the overwhelming majority, I would say 99% of the players that go to these types of events come home with no coach contact, and there's no recruiting opportunities for them. There's a huge myth that gets circulated and that gets sold, is that you have to attend a showcase event to be seen by a college coach. Take it from me, someone who's worked in the industry for 15 years. I was also a coach for 5 years. This couldn't be further from the truth. There are so many ways to be seen by a college coach now, and we're going to get into what some of those are. You don't have to attend these types of events. You absolutely can if you want to, but you do not have to. So if anybody says that you have to, it is totally a myth. So, 5 ugly truths about these events that I need to get into. These are based on my personal experiences, my anecdotal experiences that I've had with some of these organizers, and just from my experience working as an administrator as well as a college coach for so many years. These are the types of things that I see with these events and how they work and how they operate. One, most of these events are run by third parties that are for-profit entities, meaning that their goal is to make the most money possible. The more teams and players that sign up, the more money they make. That is their mantra. That is their goal, is to make the most money. They don't care if you actually get recruited because they are for-profit entities. They care if they think you're going to get recruited at their event. The more people that think that their event is the number one way to get recruited, the more money they're going to make, because they can attract more teams and more players and charge a higher entry fee because people think that they're going to get recruited. Whether or not they actually get recruited is completely secondary. They just want people to think that you're going to get recruited. If they cared about players actually getting recruited, they would limit the caliber of team/player that they allow to play, because that would actually make it worth the time for the players and for the coaches to go to these events. But if they were to do that, they would now severely limit their opportunity to make a lot of profit. Number 3, sometimes college coaches are paid to be at these events. A lot of people do not know this. People think that these college coaches are just going there for recruiting purposes, to go and find new players. That does happen. It happens a lot of the time that college coaches are just there for their own program, but a lot of the time, and I would say a disturbingly high percentage of the time, college coaches are actually paid to be there. Why do they do this? Why do these event organizers pay the coaches to be there? Because it allows the event to advertise what schools are coming, to help them drive more teams and more players to actually come to their event. And there's a high chance that the coach that is going to the event won't actually, if they're being paid, that they won't actually be doing any recruiting. I know a Division I coach who, number of years ago, was invited to come to a showcase camp. The showcase camp, it was a one-day camp, paid for this coach's flight, 2 nights of hotel rooms, and gave them a $1,000 stipend for showing up to the event. I talked to the college coach afterwards and I asked them, how was the event? They said it was great. I got paid $1,000 to do absolutely nothing. I recruited 0 players. I took the paycheck and I went home. This kind of stuff happens. I just want you to understand that not every single coach that is actually there is actually doing recruiting. Some of them are being paid to be there, and they are being paid to help leverage and make the event look better. Whether or not they talk to an actual player is completely secondary, and it's totally optional. Sometimes the top teams that are there, or the top players, are attending for free. The event organizers comp the team fee, or if it's a camp, comp the entry fee for the player, so that they can advertise future placements that came out of their camp or their event. For example, if an organizer is hosting a camp and they know that they have 5 players in their local area that are definitely of the caliber to go to a Division I school, they will invite them to the camp for free, so that they can say in the future years that kids that came to their camp went to those schools, or went on to get Division I scholarship offers. Whether or not those scholarship offers actually happened at that camp, totally secondary, because they can say that kid came to that camp and they are now playing Division I. What they don't tell you is that some of those players or those teams entered those tournaments or those camps for free. Number 5, do the math. Look at how many showcase/exposure events there are every single year. There are literally thousands of them every year. So do the math. There's 1,600 college programs, roughly. There are thousands of events and tens of thousands of teams and hundreds of thousands of players going to these camps. There's no way that a college coach can see every single player at all of these events. So if you're going to one of these events thinking that all of these college coaches are all going to be there, it's probably only going to be one or two or maybe a handful at most, and the majority of them aren't going to be recruiting because they're already going to be talking to players who they have a relationship with there. They're not looking for new players for the most part at these types of events. I just want you to know that because there's so many of them. If there was, let's just say, one a month that every single college coach went to, I would totally buy it. But just do a quick Google search and you'll see how many showcase events there are. Speaking of a Google search, this is my title slide for this presentation. I'm just going to call it back up because I just want to talk about all of these logos that are on this page. I found in less than 5 minutes searching on Google. I typed in softball college showcase, and all of these pages came up, and I went to their websites and just grabbed their logo and just threw it onto this presentation. I just want to read the names of these things so you can just hear a bit of the volume and frankly the absurdity of what these marketing groups and what these for-profit entities are doing. Here we go. Southeastern Fast Pitch Showcase, College Softball Prospect Showcase, Energy City Exposure Showcase, Stars Over Mississippi Softball Showcase, Showcase Showdown, Desert Ball Showcase, Valley Invite Portland Showcase, College Coaches Showcase Camp, Stars Over Georgia Softball Showcase, Top 100 Softball Showcase, Softball Elite Showcase Training Camp, NAIA College Exposure Showcase, Atlantic Coast Elite Showcase, Under Armour Softball Factory National Showcase. Hearing all of those back to back, it just makes my skin crawl a little bit. Just knowing that there's all of these groups that are out there calling their event a showcase, and college coach this and college coach that and exposure this and elite showcase, and just all of this marketing that is done behind this whole this whole circuit to just attract players to come to these events. It has really reached a tipping point. There's so many of them. So I just want you to understand that just because it's called a showcase, just because they have the word showcase or exposure or college in it, does not mean it is actually doing anything, because there's so many of these events that are out there. These college coaches can't possibly go to all of them. So I get asked this question all the time from players and from parents. If I want to get recruited, is there any point in actually going to a showcase? My answer always back to them is, are you guaranteed to be one of the top 10 players there? If you are, then it's probably worth it, because you're probably going to be seen by somebody there, or you have a high chance of reaching out to some of the coaches before, if you know that they're going, and tell them that you're going there, and then they're going to come and actually watch you play. Hopefully you've said some information in your emails to them that will draw them in, and they'll actually go and they'll actually watch you, and you will be one of the top 10 players because you're going to stand out. Secondly, I ask players, do you have the time and money, and are you okay with potentially getting zero value from it? Again, I talked about how 99% of the players that go to these things walk away with absolutely nothing. If you have the time and you have the money to go and do this, and you just want to go and do it for the experience, by all means, go and do it. I'm not going to stop you, but just understand what you're getting yourself into. The harsh reality that I tell players, if you're not good enough, there's really no point in going. And I don't want to sugarcoat it for anybody for any point in time. If you're not good enough, there's no point in going to these things, because you're just not going to get noticed. The whole point of a showcase is you're showcasing your skills and you're showing off what you can do. If you're not good enough, they're just not going to look at you. Last thing about this, if you want more information on how to get recruited, or if there's a point in going to a showcase, ask a player or a parent who has gone to a showcase about their experience, and ask them if it was worth it. I've asked hundreds of players that have gone to these showcase events over my 12 plus years of coaching fast pitch. The overwhelming majority say that they were okay, but for the most part, they wish that they would have done something different with their time, because it didn't actually predict where they would end up on their college recruiting pathway. And a lot of these players that go to these showcases or go to these events don't actually end up playing college softball, because they didn't make that decision. Is this really worth my time? So my recommendation, if you really want to get recruited, and I have lots more information to come here, but I just want to just put this recommendation now. Invest the time and your money that you're going to spend in these showcases and take it and invest in training and actually getting really good at the sport of softball, and emailing a few of the coaches or schools that match your skill set. That same weekend that you were going to go down to a showcase tournament, if you put in 4 to 6 hours of practice, proper sleeping, proper eating, and working on your academics, and spending a few other hours just emailing some college coaches and introducing yourself and sending them video of what you can do, assuming your skill set is actually what they want, it'll be way better use of your time than going to one of these showcase things where you're likely just going to get lost in the shuffle. So, why do people still go to these things? All of the information that I've said is publicly available, that is out there. It's a little bit buried underneath everything, granted, but I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Simply put, they're preying on your insecurities and your fear of missing out. What their sales pitch is from these tournament organizers and these camp organizers is that the best / only way to get recruited or be seen by college coaches is to go to their events. I can tell you for a fact, as a former college coach myself and as a 15-year administrator working in athletic departments, this is very, very, very false. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of ways to be seen by a college coach, and many of them are free. You don't have to go to these showcase events. You can. Are they going to hurt you? Probably not, but there's other ways to do it. Their sales pitch of this is the only way to do it or the best way to do it, I 100% disagree with. They are selling you the dream of, if your kid is good enough, all that they need to do is attend this event and they'll get a college scholarship. Operative word here is that if your kid is good enough. If your kid has otherworldly skills, absolutely yes, they can go to one of these showcase events, ball out, and they're going to get noticed, and all the college coaches are going to be talking to them. Odds are, though, if your kid has those skills, these college coaches already know who your kid is, though. Very few parents are ever going to say, my kid is not good enough, this isn't worth our time or our money. Now, parents, I love you to death. You're so passionate about your kids. I love your belief that you have in them. Don't ever lose that. But a bit of critical thinking is sometimes needed, because what these tournament organizers are doing is that they're giving you the impression that if you don't come, then you don't believe that your kid is good enough to play at the next level. That is a sales pitch that they're preying on, and they're using that psychology to help get the money out of you to put your kid or your team into one of their events for that hopes to get a college scholarship. That is the reality of what they're doing. That is how their marketing works. So, what are these events actually good for? I've talked a lot about what they're not good for. Now, what are they good for? Because they are, and I will say this, they are not inherently bad. I just want you to know what you're getting yourself into when you go to them. They are good for getting game competition. At lots of these showcase events, the competition that is actually there is pretty good, and you're going to face some pretty good teams. So from a competition standpoint, they're usually fairly solid, but do your research before you go and find out what teams are actually going, because some of those showcase events that are out there are just open to any team of any caliber, and the competition is not going to be insanely strong. They're good for getting reps in a slightly more high pressure situation. If your players think that there might be a college coach there who might be doing some recruiting or might be watching them, the stress levels go up and it's a bit more pressure for them, which is a good thing to practice every once in a while. If you want to play college, especially high level college, you're going to be playing in front of fans, maybe on TV one day. It's a good opportunity to get some practice in now of playing something that's a little bit higher pressure than what your normal league or your tournament games are going to give you. These showcase camps are good for getting some extra practice in. Simply, like you're going to be getting some extra reps because lots of these camp organizers bring in college coaches and or current college players to help run the camps. So you might actually learn a thing or two that's going to help your skill set and will help you get better. Do a cost benefit analysis on these events. If the above is what you're looking for, then by all means, sign up for all of them. I don't care what you do with your money, but just understand that what you're actually paying for is a competition, reps in slightly high pressure situations, and if it's a camp, just an opportunity to work with a college coach or a current college player, and that's fine. Do know though that there are other ways to make contact with college coaches, which I'll be getting into in a slide or two here. Full disclosure, just so I will be the one who is not holier than thou. The True North Trailblazers in 2025 will be attending 1 to 2 of these college showcase tournaments. And we are going for the above reasons, not for the recruiting purposes. We are going for the game competition and playing in slightly more high pressure situations because we really believe that it's really good for player development to go to 1 or 2 of these things where they're going to challenge themselves and play in a slightly more stressful situation. We are not going because we think it's really good for their recruiting avenues or for their recruiting prospects, but from an on-field competitive standpoint to help them get really good at the sport of softball, we think it'll actually really help them. So, what does Coach Bradley T recommend? I get asked this question all the time. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to put it out publicly, so I hopefully get asked this question a little bit less. Number one, above all else, invest in your training and get really good at softball. The number one way to get recruited is be exceptional at the sport. I tell everybody all the time, if you're good enough, they will find you. If you know how to send out a couple of emails, have competent video, and have social media, that's all that you need. That's all that you literally need to get recruited, assuming you have an elite skill set and you've put the work in to gain the skill set that these college coaches are going to be looking for. Email, social media, and videos from your phone are free. I am a firm believer that you can do an entire recruiting process for free. You do not have to spend a dime, provided you have invested the time and the energy in gaining the skill set that you need to play at the next level. In the fall of 2023, I conducted a research project where I asked hundreds and actually over 1,000 college coaches what they're looking for in standout recruits. I got 106 responses back, and here's what the coaches said. Number one, you have to be good enough to play at their level. They don't want players just to fill out rosters. They want players who are going to be standouts, and they want to know that you can play at their level. Number two, they say that they may want you to attend an on-campus camp or a training session. Note that they didn't say that they are going to go off campus. They want you to come onto their campus where they can control the environment and they can see how you work and they can show you around. One of the reasons why they also do this is they're trying to vet out the kids that are actually interested in coming to their school potentially. And they said if it's convenient, they may want to see you play in person, but the majority of them said that wasn't really necessary, and they would only do it if it's really easy for the coach, like if it was a local drive. The majority of them were not saying they were going to be doing any travel at all outside of maybe a 1 to 2 hour drive of their campus. Now, I asked 106 college coaches in the fall, and this one bears its own slide because I want to take some time to really highlight it. I asked 106 college coaches what they're looking for in standout recruits and what the recruiting process is like. Not a single college coach said they attend or look for players at showcase or exposure tournaments or camps. Now, a caveat to this, I asked them what they're looking for in standout recruits. They might go to these ones for roster fillers. I do not know. I did not ask that question. I asked what are they looking for in their standout recruits. They are not going to the showcase or exposure events. They just simply aren't. If anybody tells you that they are, I'm just going to have to say I vehemently and I adamantly disagree because I had 106 college coaches that had the floor, that had the opportunity to tell me which of these showcase events are they going to. Not a single one of them said any of them. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you want to challenge me on it, more than welcome to. I don't really care. But 106 college coaches had the opportunity to say that they go to these events. Not a single one did. I'm going to trust those 106 college coaches to take their word for it. AA Division I softball player that I know. I asked her this year, what was your recruiting process like? Like, how did you get recruited? She's playing high-level Division I. Her answer was, well, it was pretty simple, actually. I was playing a tournament with the Canadian junior national team, and my coach was helping out with, and my coach of my current team that I'm playing for was helping out with Team USA. I played well that tournament, and we started talking. The rest was history. She ended up committing to that school afterwards. A couple of key pieces of information I want you to take away from this, though, because some of you might be thinking, that sounds a lot like a showcase tournament where you just go when you play well and then coaches see you. Right? Actually, there's a couple of things you have to really start to understand about how this is different. Firstly, She was good enough to be on the junior national team, which is the top 18 players in all of Canada under the age of 21. Again, I just talked about it and I'll say it again, elite level skill set. Secondly, this was not an open showcase where every team or every player could attend. This was an international junior level tournament of the best players in the world that are under the age of 21. Remember how I talked about earlier how these tournament organizers, if they were really in the interest of doing the best for the coaches and for the recruits, they would actually limit the caliber of play. This kind of an event is one of those that actually does that because it's an international event where national teams are going. They're cutting off the caliber of player that are allowed to play there. This was also not a for-profit showcase event. This was an international event that was hosted, and I can almost guarantee you that this player did not have to pay an entry fee to play for the Canadian junior national team. So, all that being said, this is how it's a little bit different. This is not a showcase event. This was an international tournament with national teams playing, and then there happened to be recruiting that happened there. And I even asked this player afterwards, did you go to many showcase tournaments or camps or events? And her answer was, no, not really. I didn't really go to any because she had a contact that was already going. It was working. So she just did it. And that coach was also, too, how she was recruiting was she was going to these international tournaments, these international ones, not the local showcase ones that are the for-profit ones. So just a little bit of context there. So what about the teams that promise a showcase/exposure schedule? Now, we all know that they exist. There's hundreds, if not thousands of them out there. I don't have any issue with them. They're fine. They do what they have to do. So I just want to just talk about them, what my view is on them. First things first, no amount of showcases/exposure will overcome a lack of skills and abilities. A lot of these showcase teams, their whole thing is they're just going to collect the best players and put them on the showcase showcase circuit. It can be a circus at times, so a little bit of a Freudian slip there. But no amount of showcases will overcome a lack of skills. A lot of these teams are really good at putting you on the showcase circuit. They're not quite so good at actually leveling up your skill set and actually making you better at the sport. College coaches don't care what showcase team you played for. There's not a single coach out there that values a player higher because they played on a certain showcase team. All that the coaches care about is that if you can play at their level. If you are showing the skill set that they're looking for, they don't care what team or what jersey you played for or what showcase tournament or camp you went to. They just care what you're going to do for them when you step foot onto their campus. I want you to also, when you're looking at these teams, consider all the information in this presentation to see if this is for you. I'm not going to say that the showcase teams, showcase or exposure teams are good or bad. We, with the True North Trailblazers, we do not do this. We are going to go to one or two tournaments, but our main focus is on the training. We are just a different service offering. We're not better, we're not worse. We're just a different service offering. Because ultimately, it's your decision. It's your money. It's your time. It's your college recruiting pathway. It's your career. You have to make the decision that is best for you. All that I want you to do is just consider the information that is in this presentation, because this level of information doesn't get circulated that often, and I just want the information to get out there so that you are making a fully informed decision if you want to participate with one of these showcase or one of these showcase/exposure teams that puts such a heavy focus on it and less focus on actually training and getting better. So, summary. I hope I've been able to educate you a little bit on that showcase that the showcase/exposure events aren't what you think that they are. They aren't bad. I just want you to understand what you're getting yourself into when you go to these things or when you're looking at them. Most are run by for-profit entities whose job is to make money, not get you recruited. And there's little to no recruiting that actually happens at these events. Most recruiting now is done by email, by phone call, or text. These services are free. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm fully convinced that you can do 100% of your recruiting using free services. If you are good enough, they will find you. The Morgan Reimer example is a prime one where somebody drove up here on a Sunday morning to talk to her because she was that good. If you're good enough, they will make the effort to find you. You don't have to go to these showcase events if you are good enough. I want you to, my personal opinion that you have to do even if you're going to these showcase slash exposure events, you still have to invest in gaining the skills and abilities that college coaches are going to want. If you're a pitcher and you show up at a camp and you only throw 52 miles an hour, you're going to get swept under the rug. If you spend that same amount of time and energy for a year or a year and a half getting yourself up to 50 or 60 or 61, you're now going to have something to showcase. There's an expression within the college coaching world is that there's no point to go to a showcase if you have nothing to showcase. You have to have a skill. You have to have something that these coaches are going to be looking for. You have to invest your time and your energy in actually gaining those skills. That's the hard part. Paying the money to go to a showcase event, frankly, it's easy. The really hard part is spending the time and the energy and putting in the hard work to gain the skills that you're going to need to, if you want to go to one of these events, to actually have something to showcase and actually show off. So if you have any questions, comment down below or shoot me an email at bradley@trunorthsoftball.com. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I am here for people. I'm here to help the parents. I'm here to help the players. If you have a question, please do reach out. I don't charge for any of this. I'll talk to you. I will do as much as I can just to help give you some more information, just to kind of steer you in the right direction. And just please just don't go into it blind and just don't listen to what all of the marketing says. Please form some critical analysis and do some critical thinking on what you're trying to get out of this. You don't have to participate in the showcase slash exposure circuit if you want to get recruited. You just simply don't. There's many ways to be seen by college coaches. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments below. Email me, Bradley@truenorthsoftball.com. If you're interested in the True North Trailblazers College Prep program, again, we are not a showcase, we are not an exposure program, we are a college prep program where our focus is giving you the skills and abilities that you need to not just play college softball, but to excel at college softball. Visit us on the web, www.truenorthsoftball.com. We have a whole page summarizing what our program is, what our plans are for the 2025 season. Love to hear from you. We have tryouts in the end of July of 2024 here coming up, so we'd love to see players out. We understand it's not for everybody. Some players might want to do showcases and a lot of exposure. That's completely fine. We are looking for players that want to work hard, that want to train hard, and that want to gain the skills that they're going to need to excel at college softball, because we're building that culture, and that's what the Trailblazers are all about. So if you have any questions on anything, drop me an email, drop me a comment down below. I'm happy to answer anything. I'm here for the players. I'm here for the parents. I'm here just to help to dispel some of the myths and make things easier on you. Again, I was a college coach for 5 years. I was a college administrator for 15. I know a lot of the ins and the outs. I know a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. I can help you out. I can help steer you in the right direction. You don't have to do it alone. Just reach out to me. I'm here to help you. And that's it. That's all. So until next time, I'm Coach Bradley T. Work hard, level up, compete, repeat.